at the end of the day, if we can run everything through the filter of how can I win? How can they win? Instead of how can I just have their stuff, right? Or how can I just have their eyeballs? It's how can I serve them? And then they're going to remember me. And then how can I also win in the process? So win-win-win is essentially how we run our own business. I don't want to do anything that's not win-win because it just simply doesn't feel good to me. But the cool thing is that's where everything is going. The people that think like this are the people that are crushing it right now.
That was crazy, Martha. I've never had that happen. Oh my gosh. Hey, but like you said, that's a great way to kick off. We're live, everybody, LabCoatAgents, the world. We love you guys, LCA. Thank you so much, as always, for tuning in to another incredible webinar. We've got a jam-packed webinar today, and we've got an incredible mind, a true practitioner and top pro in the business here. Martha, it's an honor and a pleasure. Martha is the founder and CEO of Martha K Media Group. I cannot say enough incredible things about Martha, but today's topic is how to create super fans in your local market. So I know it's going to be an incredible one, but Martha, seriously, thank you so much for taking the time to do this.
Oh man, thank you. I am beyond excited. For those of you that don't know what just happened before we went live, Greg's whole electricity went out of just his area. So what we've decided now is that this is about to be epic. This whole thing, like the electricity couldn't even handle it. So I'm just saying.
In the green room, Martha's right. In the green room, as it's called, it was so compelling and inspiring. It just shut my whole office down. So I don't know if anybody can see, my lights are different colors now. So yeah, but we're going to knock this out, Martha. I can't wait. But seriously, for everybody out there, before we jump in, as always, if you've got questions tuning in, please jump in the chat. I'll be checking those out. Martha and I are going to have a crazy coffee shop style conversation through this webinar. So, but I'll be monitoring those specifically. But Martha, I guess where I really would love to start is for anybody who doesn't know you, maybe who's been living under a rock and doesn't understand who you are and why you're doing what you do. Let's kind of give the background as to who they're going to be learning from for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So who are you, where you're from, what got you into the biz, and what you do best?
Yeah, sounds good to me. So my name's Martha Krejci. That is how you pronounce all of those consonants together in a very small word. So I'm originally from the Midwest. I now hail from Orlando, Florida. I believe it is the land of milk and honey these days. So that's where I am. I have a small family, me, my husband, and my baby girl. She is 6 years old. She turned 7 on Sunday. So we had to move to Disney World, right? Where all little girls are princesses, forever and ever. Amen. I think is how that works. So
makes sense.
Right. And so that's like where I'm from. And that's kind of like my family and stuff. But the reason that I'm here even talking to you about creating super fans at all is because that's what I've done in my own business. So in my own business, I've created multiple income streams from home, utilizing stuff I already know. And that's what I teach people how to do. Right. So this also equates to real estate. And it's the coolest thing because all of it funnels back into the single seed of personal brand. Right. Wow. And us we're all living, breathing, walking, talking personal brands, whether we like it or not, whether you actually act like it or not. Right. And so what we're going to do is we're going to be talking today about how to use that personal brand, create community around that personal brand, and then crush it in your market. So we have created so much community and so much loyalty around our own personal brand that I don't even like to talk about the dollars and cents anymore, but it's a ridiculous amount of money that a family makes from home, working like 5 to 10 hours a week. Okay. So that's what we're going to be going into, is how to then switch that over into how can you use that for real estate? So you don't have to spend so much money on ads, or like we don't spend any money at all on ads. So you don't technically even have to. So that's who I am. That's what I'm about. That's what we're getting into.
Martha, I love this. And you touched on so many great key components into there that are going to really help evolve this conversation too. I love the fact that you're talking about community and really understanding your markets, but there's so many professionals that are on this tuning now, or whether you're after the fact on YouTube watching this after we shot it, and they're looking at how to grow their brand, how to saturate their market, really how to make an impact on the communities that they serve. And I love the fact that you're mentioning, we're all walking, talking brands, whether we know it, like it or not. And so I guess to that point, you had mentioned the realm without spending money on ads and things. So is there thought processes into your mind for real estate professionals tuning in, how to really grow that market, to saturate, to build content or push that out organically? What are your thoughts there?
Oh, I have so many thoughts.
Okay.
And we have very little time, but I'm going to be like the most efficient ever in life with my thoughts right now, and just bring out the gold.
Love it.
So essentially, like we've seen everybody watch like $1 Million Listing, right? And everybody, there are a lot of people even becoming agents right now because they watch that show and they're like, that looks easy. And then they all realize like very quickly, like it ain't really like that until you build up to that, right? And so when people come in, they're like, well, I want all these huge listings and I only want those listings. And those are the people that I want to sell their houses and whatever. And listen, you can do that if you've already had those relationships with those people. If you already have those connections, sure, you could do that, but most people don't. And so how do you build up your business to where you can start moving into that space, right? It's going to take notoriety, authority, and people trusting you. And that's what's going to parlay you into people with very expensive homes, because they're looking for somebody they can trust. Okay. Somebody that they can really feel like is going to go to bat for them and all of those things. So really we need to reverse engineer this, the stardom factor of this. We need to reverse engineer that into, how do I build trust? How do I build community? How do I really serve my people in an organic way? Because here's also the deal. And I'm really good at running Facebook ads. I just choose not to.
Sure.
So I'm not saying, don't, if that's how you're wanting to do some lead gen, that's totally fine. Right. But you don't develop loyalty with a Facebook ad. You don't develop loyalty with ads. You develop a one-off potential lead gen. Okay. Now, if we want lead gen that's organic, that you don't pay money for, that's what organic means. So that it's organic and that you're also building loyalty from, you need to spend your time and your energy building community. And so what does that actually look like? And really, community is just people in a container. And that sounds really bizarre. We're not putting people in like plastic boxes, right? It feels weird when I say container, like we're putting them in a shoebox. But what we're really doing is there's a container, like whether it be a Facebook group or Mighty Networks group, or Circle has a thing, where you can have groups that are off of social media. Essentially what you want is you want to create a community, a container for people that are, here's the thing, drum roll, thank you. Just like, I love that. Nobody's ever actually done it.
I'm here for you, Martha. That's it. I'm here.
I love it. So we're creating community for people that are precisely like us. And it seems like, especially people in real estate, are scared to death to create community around people that are just like them, because they've got their eyes on this other thing. But hey, realize there are so many people that are like you, like that, maybe they're married and they have kids, or maybe they don't, maybe they just have a dog or whatever. You create community around people precisely like you, and then you serve the heck out of them. And what that looks like, super quick, I'll just go into some bullet points. Like I said, I'm just trying to give the gold here.
This is
what that looks like is, bringing local celebrities in, bring in the people that matter to those people. So say you're single and you have a dog. Okay. So then you're going to bring in like maybe the best groomer in your area, and you're talking to him about dogs and stuff like that, right? Maybe you bring in even like some local TV personalities, they're always looking for media. Don't ever think that somebody is unreachable, because everyone on this planet, I don't care who you are, they're always looking for media. They will almost always say yes to anything, especially as it pertains to local markets. Okay. So as you're creating community, don't be afraid to call on some people and bring them in. What you're going to end up doing is being the go-to place for people like you. And you have to understand, like, go back to Seth Godin and see this, right? Understand that you speak to one person, especially one person that's just like you, because you know what's inside your head. So therefore, you know what's in their head. You speak to one person, and there's so many of that one person that exists. And then you serve them. And now you're their friend. Right? You're the authority in the market, because you're also going to deliver gold about what's going on in the market. Like, man, this is like the best house on the market right now for people like us. Here's why. Boom, 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 boom. So it's not a general, listing sheet that the whole everyone gets, but it's a listing sheet specifically for them that's saying, this is why it matters to us. Right? And so like you have to see what I'm saying right now and how you are going to create ridiculous amounts of loyalty that way.
Martha, as you're explaining all these things, there's so many thoughts that are running through my head, and hopefully everybody feels the same way who's tuning into this. You're really speaking directly to identifying obviously who we are and what we do and why we do it, but then looking outside, who else can we attract or speak to that's speaking the same language as us? So it's identifying our niche, right? And then speaking the same language that resonates. It goes back to, and you know this very well, anybody out there who's not deep into marketing is, you really got to have a message that resonates with who you're speaking to. And I always base it off of having a conversation with a first-time home buyer versus having a conversation with an ultra high-end luxury buyer, right? They're typically in two different places in their lives. And if you're trying to talk to a first-time home buyer like you would a luxury, it's going to fall on deaf ears, or vice versa. So really identifying that niche or niches, crafting a message that matters to them, as you're saying, Martha, I think is crucially important. I love what you're saying. I think it makes total sense.
Yeah. Heck, it's the best thing. It's the best thing ever in life. Definitely getting the message directly to them. And then also even bringing in other things that are interesting to them. So I'm a big fan of partnerships. Not necessarily let's share rev partnerships, although those are not bad, but just JVs just partnerships. Excuse me, I'll just stop using terms. Some partnerships that run alongside what you do. So these people serve the same people, but they serve them in different ways, if that makes sense. So you can bring in financial advisors, right? You can bring in, like, if you really care about your own health and wellness, bring in, a local, somebody who's really popular that's like a fitness expert. Bring them in to talk to your people. Like, you're serving them on all angles. Essentially what you want is for this community to locally be a sticky place. And a sticky place is something that people have to go to every day. And so, like, I'm an organic growth hacker. Essentially, that's what I am. And so in growth hacking, what we talk about all the time is sticky. How do we make it where people have to come back every day and they do not want to miss a thing? And that's what we're doing in creating these communities. And that allows us to organically be able to hack our own growth. Just bypassing what ads could even do for us, especially right now.
Yeah. But that's, to me, again, identifying that community and then diving deep into it, bringing the collaborative nature is always great. And I always base that off of, okay, well, as a real estate professional, whoever's tuning in, you have a certain sphere of influence, but that, let's just say to Martha's point, what if it's an entrepreneur that owns like the rock star yoga studio in your town or market? Doing something where you're handling an event and like it's a yoga event, you're bringing traffic to their studio, you're the real estate professional that's connecting the dots in that community. That's so powerful, because that yoga entrepreneur they have their own group of influence as well that now you can tap into. The more you do that, the more influence you can grow, as long as your message is right, as long as you're really understanding, identifying markets. And I think that that's crucial, changing into that. And just like anybody out there who's developed a business or a brand, inside real estate, there's certain aspects that take time, as you were saying earlier, to get to know, like, and trust. But there are ways to expedite. There are ways to hack that growth pattern. And Martha, you're saying it all day long. I mean, I think this is great for sure.
Yeah, that's what it's all about. I love that you went into, even like yoga studios and stuff like that.
Yep.
At the end of the day, if we can run everything through the filter of how can I win? How can they win? Mm-hmm. Instead of how can I just have their stuff, right? Or how can I just have their eyeballs? It's how can I serve them? And then they're going to remember me. And then how can I also win in the process? So win-win-win is essentially how we run our own business. I don't want to do anything that's not win-win because it just simply doesn't feel good to me. But the cool thing is that's where everything is going. Mm-hmm. The people that think like this are the people that are crushing it right now. Like, if your eyes aren't open to that, you need to open your eyes to that, because the people that are winning at the, I don't know, at cutting somebody else down or cutting somebody else out, or in some negative way at all, it's not sustainable. It's not a sustained win. And so even when people see it, because you see a lot of people are like, here's how you grow your thing. And it's like, talk trash about everybody else. Now, they don't say that. No. They don't say that, but they're kind of saying that. Sure. And so like, it's just being able to serve and bring eyeballs to other people's business, and always being when you said the person that's connecting the dots in the community, mm-hmm. that's 100% it. So this community that you're going to be building, this, like your container of people, mm-hmm. that's going to be where you're going to be seen to be connecting those dots. And that's what's going to make it sticky for your people. So if you can just come away from today, it seems very simple, but if you can come away from today and just think of who you are, right? Like who you are as an individual, not just demographic, but gosh, what you've been through in life and stuff like that, like what you enjoy and also what your dreams are and all of these things. If you can think of who you are and then build community around that, and just step one, create the community and start putting it out there. A lot of times people are scared to create it because they're like, nobody's going to come to it and I'm going to be a massive failure, right? It's where your subconscious kicks in and it's like, nobody cares. And, but it's not the truth. It's not the truth. It's just a story you tell yourself, right? And the only way that story comes true is if you listen to it. So all you have to do is take the first step, create the community, do the thing, and then start serving. And the cool thing, the worst thing that's going to happen is that now you have all these relationships with people you have brought into the community, and you have all of those external connections now. So like, that's the worst thing that's going to happen. Best thing is that your trajectory is going to do this just like mine did.
Martha, it's so incredible as you mentioned that. And to a lot of people says, oh gosh, that seems so exciting. And it does seem simple, and everybody gets locked up in the minutia. How do I start? Where do I start? What do I do? What are the processes? But just putting the thought into it and then taking the action, it'll come to play as it does, as you mentioned. But something that popped into my head as you were talking about that too, is there's so many real estate professionals out there, and entrepreneurs or professionals in general, that they have different passions, right? So maybe you're a big foodie or a coffee lover. Maybe you love to mountain bike, ski, or golf. Maybe you're big into book clubs, or if you like to race cars, all these different aspects. So many people, I think they get overwhelmed with, well, what should I go into? What should I say? I would love your opinion on this. My thoughts are, just pick one or two and really dive deep into it. Find the growth pattern, that's success, and when you're there, then you can add another one. You can always add on to it. But do you have a thought onto how do people identify maybe what passions they go into, how many they try to select or niche up on? Any thoughts on that?
I do have thoughts.
Okay. Maybe a silly question. Wrong phrasing into that for sure.
I have a lot of thoughts on that. The way that I teach my students this is It's going to feel a bit much for real estate, but bear with me because I don't think you can dig too deep. Okay. So what I teach my students is that we you write a line on a piece of paper, and it's like your timeline of your life, right? Wow. And see, we're getting into it. So you're writing the timeline of your life, and essentially you make little hash marks on different sort of like walls and stuff you were trying to get through in your own life. Now, this is personal brand stuff, okay? Yeah. Because you are not the houses you sell. So let's go through your life and think, okay, where were there times where, and I call them fires, that you've been through that you're like, man, if only I knew how to X, Y, and Z, I would be able to figure this thing out. If only somebody would just take my hand here and show me what the heck is going on, then I would be able to figure this thing out. And we've all had many of those things, right? So like, I have a ton of them in my background, but the one that I serve, because you're going to pick one to serve. Okay. So at the end, when you have these hash marks, you're going to look at all of them and you're going to determine, okay, who's the one that I really want to serve here? And the one that I serve on mine is I serve, families. Like I was stuck in a cubicle. I worked for a big tech company. I was in a cubicle, smelled like the 60s, had all my little motivational quotes, kept me going through the day, right? And then I got a video for my husband with my daughter taking her first steps, and everything just went ouch, crashed down, right? And then that's where I was met with the idea of, what am I going to do here? Am I going to keep doing this? Because it was really just a benchmark, which we all had these benchmarks. So it was a benchmark of, what are you going to do? You're going to keep going, or you're going to do your own thing. You're going to do what actually makes you happy, right? And so that's my person that I serve now. So what you do is you create your timeline. Think of the person that you're serving. Here's the personal brand part. So cool. Is you pick the version of yourself that you're serving, and then not only are you able to talk to them about real estate and such, but you're also able to help them through the thing that they're going through. Wow. So you're powerful. You're not just there to sell houses. And I think that even whenever like the wellest meaning people are trying to go out there and serve, but they still think that their only income generating thing that they can do is sell houses, they still end up in that space of like just the real estate person, right? And no deeper, like we don't get deep. And so if we can serve these people, like wherever that fire was, whatever you choose to serve them in, serve them right there. And all of a sudden, like they understand that you are them, and they are committed to you, and they are loyal to you more than anybody else on the planet. And that's what gets referrals. That's what gets all of this other stuff, because it's not just you're a great real estate agent, you're a great freaking person. And so then you can bring in people to help them with that stuff. And I mean, shoot, you could create courses, you can write books, you can do all of this stuff around personal brand, and then have real estate be your main engine for everything, but then have other streams alongside it, which just serves your people.
Wow, Martha, to talking about developing that timeline, to identifying that person that you're really speaking to internally and externally, huge piece of advice, and identifying that, because that answers that question. So there's no excuses into that. It's just getting the work done, putting that in, planning it out, and then processing. So I think that the people that are tuning in, they're like, okay, I love that thought. Martha's really speaking it to me. So what are the thoughts into the next step? So they do the timeline, they identify who they're speaking to. Are there certain aspects of, platforms that you would recommend, these professionals being on, types of content that you'd recommend them kind of creating? And then I guess the frequency of engagement. I know that's like a 3-part sort of thing, but what are the next steps? I know we only have a few minutes, and you're not sharing anything and everything. It's little bits. This is just the tip of the iceberg, but what are your thoughts on the next steps after somebody identifies that?
Yeah. So when you identify who you're going to serve, you need to then identify how you're going to serve them or how they want to be served,
Okay.
what they self-identify as needing. So
Okay.
there's what we believe they need, and then there's what they actually think they need. And so you have to really put yourself back in that place and say, like, what did I need at that point? Right. And that's going to take a little bit of introspection and getting quiet, which is not easy in our world that we live in right now. So that is, you got to plan that one out. But so far as content strategy is concerned, man, YouTube it up, because YouTube is the how do I channel. Right. Okay. And it's also fantastic for cataloging video content. So you put video on Facebook and stuff like that, which I do also, but you put it on YouTube and now it's cataloged and people are able to see it whenever, wherever, as long as you've got things, set up well, where it's in an organized fashion, you've got your playlist set up and all of that stuff. YouTube is fantastic. It's also, Google owns YouTube. So for SEO purposes, I'm a very big SEO nerd, or search engine optimization nerd. So YouTube all day, day, right? So, awesome. So what I do personally is I broadcast. So I have, I guess, what would be called a show, Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, every single day. So my people know to expect it. Okay. And so that make up a show. We need to, I'm friends with Ryan Dice of Digital Marketer and .com. And he was saying, gosh, it was like a few weeks ago, he was saying, like, we all need to own our media platforms. We have to. In this day and age, you have to pay to play so much that you really need ownership of your own thing. So it doesn't mean you have to have a podcast or anything. Sure. I actually am just now starting a podcast and I'm years into my thing. So I have had it on YouTube. I do Facebook Lives. I'm on LinkedIn Live, which is super simple to get on right now, by the way. If you haven't, just Google LinkedIn Live. It'll send you to an instruction page, and then pay attention to your junk box, because that's where you'll get the notification that you're able to go live. I know it because I saw it. So what I do is I broadcast. So I use Restream. I have no horse in this race. I don't own Restream or anything, but I use Restream and Ecamm. So I use Apple products. Ecamm is for Apple products. Restream broadcasts everywhere. So it'll broadcast to Facebook, my Facebook personal page, which, if you're not taking full advantage of your Facebook personal page, you have missed the whole boat, and I would like for you to jump back on. So we need to be using our Facebook personal page, because it's where we can hack the algorithm in so many ways that we get massive eyeballs, that we really need to be using that. So send it to your personal page. If you want to send it to your business page, so be it. Send it to your group. If you're using Facebook group, I send it to LinkedIn Live and I send it to YouTube. And then sometimes I put up I have like a phone, because Instagram Live doesn't have where you can send it right there. So sometimes I just set up my phone on my little computer here, and I just Instagram Live from, like, it looks like I'm talking to Instagram Live too. The only reason I don't like to do it a ton is because you can't really talk to the people on live. And so it looks not as native. So I'll do it sometimes, not do it others. So, but that would be the first thing, is develop a show. And you might be like, oh my gosh, how can I, and I'm going to wrap this up. How can I create a show? You're telling me I need to create all of this content. What in the heck am I going to talk about? I am not Gary Vee, right? And so what I'm saying to you is, you could be Gary Vee. And really, all you need to do is go to answerthepublic.com. If you don't know of Answer the Public, it's pretty much a godsend, I think, for all of us. Go to answerthepublic.com, put in, a word about what you do. So if it's real estate, then do that. And then it's going to give you all of the things that people are typing in to the search engines, asking about real estate, like all the things that they want to know about real estate, right? And then second gold nugget hack, and then I'm finished, is, okay, cool. And then second one is that you go to just the Google search bar. You can also do this in the YouTube search bar, and type in real estate and then the letter A. Okay. Or first time home buyer and the letter A, if that's who you focus on. and then the letter A, and then it's going to start showing you autofills, right? We've all seen them, of what people are literally typing in. Okay. And then as long as you're satisfying what people are literally typing into Google, it's a natural hack to push your website up to the top of the search engines. And so in YouTube, what you do, and this is going real fast, so y'all are gonna have to rewind this later.
This is great.
In YouTube, I love strategy. In YouTube, what you're gonna do is you create the video, but leave one gold nugget out of the video and say, just pop over to my blog to catch this part. I want to say it in writing because I want you to see it, right? Yeah. And so pop back to the blog, because on the blog, that's where they're in your world. Okay. So don't think that like blogs are for bloggers. Blogs are for business people. If you want to be a successful business person, you need to be satisfying search engine optimization. So you pop them back to your blog, and then in your blog, you pop them back to YouTube. So if they didn't start out on YouTube, you pop them back over there for the rest of the content. And so you're doing this little dance between YouTube and your blog, which everybody loves. And so, and then, I'm not even going to get into the pixels and all of those things that can happen once they're on your website, yada, yada. Like I said, there's a lot I could say.
Martha, you are on fire. And there was no joke. The power going out earlier before we went live, that was a sign that the information is so usable, applicable, and it was just rapid fire. The good thing about this is it is recorded. It'll be on LCA's YouTube channel. You can watch this over and over again, but I do want to address a couple of things. So I did put in the chat your YouTube channel for everybody who's on here so they can click and access that. But I believe I put your correct website. So it's withmartha.com. Is that correct?
That's it. Yep.
So I guess that's one source. And then I did put your podcast, which is just going to your website, and it's withmartha.com/podcast. But Martha, where's the best way for people to get a hold of you? You just scratched the surface. Anybody who's really compelled to reach out, to connect, to learn more from you, because you've coaching courses. Where is it? And just give everybody a little bit of information on that, if you wouldn't mind.
Yeah. So I have a group. That's where you're going to get the most personal, like my container, right? The one that I teach what I do, right? Mm-hmm. And so my container is called Families Creating Legacies, because that's what's important to me. So that's on Facebook. So you can look up Families Creating Legacies. Also, you can find me at the Martha Krejci on almost any place. Okay. I'm best in Messenger on Instagram and Facebook. And aside from that, just the website with Martha, it's like the hub for everything. So.
Okay. And I love that, because we've got links here in the chat, and then it'll show up in the show notes as well. But again, anytime that, a true pro such as yourself jumps on these webinars, it's just so nice, because I know that so many people are like, okay, I really like what I'm hearing. And there's so many takeaways, but I still need that extra help. There's a lot of people that are drivers, and they'll be able to do it 100% by themselves, just with what you've given them, and implement some things. But most of us need that guidance, that continued nature. So I just wanted to make sure that we covered that too, if anybody needs it. So cool. It's there. But any other thoughts or anything? You answered all the questions, because no one's got anything. We got some love, but no specific questions. So Martha, do you have anything, closing remarks or statements or anything you want to touch on before we wrap this one up?
Yeah, I think I'm going to touch on something that I don't usually. And I think that because we're talking about real estate agents here, and I want to say something that maybe they haven't heard before. And I would really think about, and again, for the people that you serve, once you've determined who those people are, I would really think about writing and even self-publishing your own book, because that will get you on stages to then get more eyeballs, to then get more notoriety, authority, and all of those things in the market. But I would talk about, I would create a book around the way that you serve, and how maybe it's so surprising that you're in real estate, but this matters to you too. And then it's like a calling card, and it's even more like deep trenched proof positive that you care about so much more than what people realize that you care about. And so like, I think that moving forward in our world right now, we really just need to we're just in service, guys. Like we're in service, and we need to just own it fully and totally, and just go into, even as scary as it is to write a book, it's not that scary. I'm too deep now, and I never thought I would write a book ever in life.
I love that.
Do it because it changes the game for you.
Well, huge advice into that. And I think that true. I mean, just piling on to more of what you said, having that social proof or notoriety, known as that local expert, that go-to professional in your market and in your field, it doesn't hurt conversion. It doesn't hurt starting a conversation and having that notoriety. And back to, kind of the original thought process of the Bravo TV $1 million listing stars that are on there. It's one of those things where I know for a fact that each one of them uses that to their advantage, right? And any tool in our tool chest that we can use to help grow revenue, to build our businesses, to help more buyers and sellers in the communities we serve, you got to use it. And I think that's a huge piece of advice, writing the book, getting on stages, having the notoriety. That's good stuff, Martha. I mean, this is, you and I could talk all day long. I know it. This is so incredible. LCA is honored to have you on this webinar. And I know that everybody is just thrilled that you took the time today, for sure.
Oh man, thanks so much. This has been a blast. Like I'm ready to run around the house or something now. I don't know. I have a ton of energy.
Me too. I got to do some laps. But Martha, seriously, you're a true pro. Thank you so much for your time. It was an honor just to hang out with you for a little bit today. Everybody out there, as always, thank you for your love, your time and attention and support with LabCoatAgents. And once again, if you missed this live stream, please jump on YouTube. You can catch everything that Martha was going through. I mean, you do not want to miss this. If you jumped in midway or towards the end, go back. You will not regret it. And then we'll have links in the show notes. So we'll catch everybody on the next webinar through LCA. Thank you so much. Everybody have a blessed week, Thanksgiving this week, and stay tuned for the next one. Take care. Thanks, Martha.
Thank you.